like, I don't have that. That's not, that's not an attractive modality of manhood or masculinity for somebody my age. Just, I don't know, I don't know. A lot of the things that they're trying to, a lot of the things that they're talking about, it's like we embrace Islam because we wanted some guidance, because we have been exposed to so much excessive sexuality, excessive, really, I won't even call it toxic masculinity, but deficient, undisciplined masculinity. We actually grew up around people that, because they could not control their anger, were going to shoot up a whole block. Like this really, so like Andrew Tate being like kickboxing and talking tough, that's not anything. That's not nothing. To me, it's like, no, we actually embraced Islam because we wanted discipline. We wanted self-control. For me, my mother cared for me, throughout my childhood. My father was an absentee father. So respecting and honoring women has always been important to me. That's like there's a certain, when somebody is just in a very vulgar way, disrespecting, dishonoring women, that's not even attractive to me at a base level. It's like, that's something repulsive to me. So like Andrew Tate's, even before his Islam or his current work, that would never have any appeal to me. I am confused as to why so many young Muslim men find that appealing.
One of the things that it's not even really about the person. I think that's just like a starting point for a broader conversation. It's that if someone who is known to have very misogynistic views embraces Islam, rather than sort of cheering and be like, oh, there's someone famous or infamous who's embraced Islam, isn't it an opportunity for Muslims to look at the elements of our religion that can be interpreted? And so it's sort of like you were saying, the young men who follow him, what did they see in his rhetoric? Well, he's Islam.
It would be, it's interesting, and I think that, I think that for people to look at Islam and find in it what they're looking for is only natural. I mean, you tend to find what you're looking for. Rumi is famous for saying, what you seek is seeking you. You know what I'm saying? So if a person, and that's one of the beauties of traveling and meeting a lot of different Muslims from a lot of different backgrounds and histories. So some people, their entree into Islam is mysticism, right? That's, especially a lot of white American converts to Islam. That's what they were looking for, right? They're living in this kind of postmodern, material excessive kind of American context, and they want something that helps them to get in touch with like meaning and significance and kind of the metaphysics of Islam, that deeply spiritual tradition. That's what they're looking for. And mashallah, they usually find what they're looking for. A lot of them become Sufis, they have shades, they join tariqas. And then you look at like African American converts to Islam. They said the epicenter of white American conversion to Islam is the college campus. And the epicenter of Black American conversion to Islam is prison. So people that are looking for moral rectitude, I'm trying to, I want to correct my behavior. I want to become a better man. I want to be upright. I want to be righteous. I want to be good. I want to, I want to gain perspective on my conduct, my posture, my hygiene, how I treat women. I wanna help to heal some of the trauma that I've gone through that has made me so violent. You know, that is what Islam is being used for. Similarly, I've talked to people that were political radicals, you know, ex-Black Panthers and people that belong to the Young Lords and the BLA and, you know, Black Liberation Army. They embrace Islam. All they love talking about jihad. You know, jihad, you know, that's where they come in. That's what they want to talk. You know, I used to be a Black Panther, you know, in the 60s. When I, you know, read Surah Tawbah, I knew this religion was the truth. You know, I mean, this is that revolutionary spirit taken to another. So if someone is disillusioned with gender relations, right? And that's what I see in the young people following Andrew Tate. I see a deep disillusionment with male-female relations in our society. And I think in haste, I think in youthful indiscretion, I think in a lack of guidance, that disillusionment has expressed itself in these very vicious, very reprehensible, misogynistic tropes, right? What my hope would be, what my prayer would be, is that a person like that can find some clarity on this critical aspect of our existence, male-female relationships, right? Marriages, family, and children. They can find some clarity concerning that in Islam, but it will be purified of those misogynistic attitudes, purified of those sexist attitudes, purified of this very juvenile anger toward women, hatred of women, and rather, you know, deeper levels of understanding. But I guess what I'm saying is that I'm not, when you say, what does someone like that find in our religion? Yeah, I think, you know, one thing about Muslims that is just undeniable, it's undeniable, is that, you know, when I think about androgynous kind of mix between male and female, kind of, you know, expressions of identity, Islam is not androgynous. Islam is where masculinity is honored, femininity is honored, but they are distinct. That, you know, and I think that's for people on the outside looking in, it would be very easy to assume, yeah, see, the Muslims are keeping it the old school way. See, you know, just because, you know, a lot of our spaces are gender segregated, many of our sisters wear hijab. Even in the Arabic language, you don't even use the same terms of address for women, for men. It's a very, you know, gender is kind of distinct. And I think that one of the great sources of that disillusionment is, you know, a kind of fluidity in respect to gender that really comes from a changing economy. That, you know, there is, you know, like there was an article that The Atlantic ran 4 or 5 years ago called The End of Men, right? And the piece was suggesting that in an information economy where you have less and less manual labor, blue collar jobs, and women are more and more capable of earning wages that exceed the wages of men in some cases, or at least, you know, approach them or equal them. What is the real utility of manhood? What is the real utility? Like, you know, there used to be a, you know, sometimes I remind my wife that, you know, there used to be a time, once upon a time, a woman's gratitude for a man, you know, providing for her was like a man's gratitude at a woman carrying his children, because each of them was doing something for the other that the other could not do. That isn't the case anymore, right? That's not, it's not like that, anymore. And I think that this has led to a deep identity crisis for many men. What am I? Who am I? What is my purpose? What is my utility? What am I here for? Right? And I think that, Andrew Tate and people like that, Jordan Peterson as well, I think they feel that vacuum. And while I see and understand the frustration, I feel like the expressions of that reclamation of manhood that exists in that manosphere, Kevin Samuels, it was not prophetic. See, it wasn't prophetic. And how you know it wasn't prophetic is because it often descended into the ridicule of women. I used to sometimes look at these people and think, how can you assert the value of traditional manhood and you ridicule women? It's impossible. What is masculine about that? I mean, what is masculine about bringing a young woman who calls into your show to tears in the name of like telling her the hardcore truth about her appearance or who she is? I'm thinking that has never been being able to bring a woman to tears through ridiculing her has never been anything that was esteemed as an expression of masculinity anywhere. So I think that, what I see in a lot of these people is a frustration and a disillusionment that I understand, but, a lack of prophetic guidance and trying to, find a way to, express a distinctly masculine composure, So I'm hoping what Andrew Tate sees in Islam, and let's be honest, maybe he does see in Islam, a religion that puts women where they're supposed to be, something like that. Maybe. I'm hoping that with refinement, education, tarbiyah, maybe Adnan, Sania will read the Shama'il to him, inshallah. With refinement, education, he'll get an opportunity to see that, okay, I see what this is. I understand now. Really, the spiritual leadership of, men is really just, allowing, Ibn Abbas said, when Allah Ta'ala says, وَلِلْرِجَالِ عَلَيْهِنَّ دَرَجَةً, that men have a rank over women. It is only a rank of service and responsibility. It's not a rank of value or nearness to God. It's a rank of service and responsibility. And even that, Ibn Abbas explains further, the relationship of husband and wife, because the verse was in the context of marriage, is actually a reciprocal relationship, you see. But women have the option of not affording to men what they're supposed to if men don't give them what they're supposed to. So if men withhold the rights of women, women can withhold the rights of men. I mean, like, you don't do that, but I'm not. Men don't have that option, actually. That as long as they are married, that he must provide, he must be kind, he must be loving. His relationship with her is not a quid pro quo. Like, if you don't do this, then I won't do this. He doesn't get that option. That's how Ibn Abbas explained that darajah, that as long as I say I'm husband, these are things that I have to do. Whereas the wife, if he doesn't do this, then she can say, well, I'm not doing this. If you don't do this, then I won't do that. So my point here is that it's a rank of responsibility. The Prophet ﷺ said, "An-nisa'u shaqa'iqur rijal," that women are the twin halves of men. This hadith is always understood to mean in terms of value, right? In terms of men are not in any way better than women, right? Nor are women better than men inherently, but women, of course, can become better than men, in their character and in their devotion, and vice versa, right? So I'm hoping that, someone will guide Andrew Tate, if in fact he sees in Islam a confirmation of his misogyny. He sees an affirmation of, yeah, this is why I like Islam, right? Because, verse 434 or something like that. This is what I like about Islam. This is what makes Islam a good religion. So I think that it just has to be guided. And to your point, people have come to Islam by many different paths, man. That's one of the secrets of religious conversion that converts know and other people do not, is that not everyone.
Sorry for the interruption. Same routine, I'm leaving.
Okay.
Or you have to do school tonight.
Bismillah.
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 Appreciate
It's all right.
that. Sorry.
Not everybody comes to, I think there's a certain, and I don't mean this to imply that converts are insincere, but there's a certain mythology around religious conversion that makes every conversion to Islam like, I heard a voice out of heaven that said, this is the truth. Sometimes it can be, people embrace Islam for all kinds of ulterior, all kinds of strange reasons, and then they grow in their sincerity. I've heard stories that, I remember there was a brother, white American, I met him in Yemen. We were studying Arabic together. And I said, man, how did you embrace Islam? He said, man, I got involved with this Saudi Arabian woman. And he said that, we got involved with dating, in fact, we were living together. She came to DC for some kind of internship. And I knew I wanted to spend the rest of my life with her. He said, so when I asked her, we sat at home, she said, in order for you to marry me, you'd have to be a Muslim. He said his response was, be a Muslim, it ain't gonna kill me. Is that all? Yeah, okay, you ready to get married? He said, so her father came over there and, I don't think her father was a very, very practicing Muslim himself. So, just said, yeah, I'm a Muslim, and that was the extent of it. They didn't pray or just said, yes, sir, I'm a Muslim. Yeah, that was it. And they got married. And he said that they were living together. And I think he worked as an accountant. And he said that one day he was in DC, walking past the mosque, and he said to himself, if I wanted to go in that place, I could, because I'm Muslim. He had never taken a shahada, anything like that. He just said, man, if I wanted to walk up in there, I could, because I'm a Muslim. Mm-hmm. And then he said, you know what? I'm just gonna walk in. So he walked in, just opened the door. He'd never been in a mosque in his life. He said he looked around and thought, no chairs in here. You know what I'm saying? No chairs. He said he sat down, just sitting there, didn't know what was happening. And he said that day, Imam Zayd Shakir was the guest khatib. And he said that he started listening, and it wasn't like a light bulb, but he said he heard enough that he wanted to come back next week. And he just heard something uplifting. He thought, And he said, man, 3 or 4 weeks, he's really into it now. He's taking the shahada, and his wife is saying, why are you doing this? This was just for my father, right? So when I met him in Yemen, he was in the process of divorcing the woman. He was learning Arabic and strong committed Muslim. And he embraced Islam just, why not? I know, I know someone that told me that he was walking past 73rd Stony Island, where the Nation of Islam meets. He said that as he was walking past, He said he heard the sound of new car doors closing. Old cars, the doors closed. But new cars, the doors like they fasten. He said he was walking past and heard all these new car doors shut. He just said, he tried to ask, hey brothers, what is all this, man? You gotta look good, you got your suits on, and everybody's got a new car, and how can I be a part of this? Right? And then they started telling them about the nation. Honorable Elijah Muhammad. He joined the Nation of Islam. 2 years after that, accepted the Sunnah. And would laugh about this all happened because it's a new car. You know what I mean? This all happened because they had. I heard those car doors shut. Brothers, how can I be a part? I want a new car. I'm walking right now. People accept Islam for all sorts of crazy things, man. It's people in the prison accept Islam for protection. Some people do. I mean, when I was in the county, there was a few people that was.
I mean, in the county, it's kind of like broad. If they're Muslim, they all communities.
Yeah, it's not.
They all communities, all communities. Now the neutrons, they not all
They're not off limits, off limits.
They distort them, you can't distort the
No,
Muslim.
man, I think that's a beautiful thing, man. In so many correctional institutions, Muslims command a lot of respect.
Yeah.
And that if the inmates know he's a Muslim, they just say, okay, you can't touch, you gotta leave him alone. He's Muslim. That's well known. So I'm just saying, man.
You know how it goes? He better be Muslim.
Yeah.
If the first time he do something that ain't his law,
It's fair game. If he get caught gambling in the day room or something like that, that's fair game. Yeah, you're not. Yeah. So my point, man. People accept Islam for all sorts of reasons, man. And there's a lot of different paths to the truth. And sometimes you accept Islam, and a misunderstanding you had about Islam gets straightened out. Maybe you accept Islam on the basis of a misunderstanding. I know people that are Muslims right now, and if you ask them now, if Andrew Tate accepted Islam because he thought it was a misogynistic religion, it's bad. But I know people that accepted Islam because they just said Islam stood for God being black. That's why they accepted Islam. Then why did you become Muslim? Because I thought Muslims believed God was black. The more I learned about Islam, I said, well, y'all don't believe God is black, but I guess I'm already here now. You know what I'm saying? I thought Muslims believed God was black. That's why I accepted Islam. They said, wait, y'all don't? Nah, Allah's beyond, Allah's beyond descriptions. Really? That's deflating. But I mean, I did find some good in this religion. I mean, so if he is mistaken about our religion, hopefully he'll be corrected. He'll be guided. But to your point, I think there are many things about Islam that could appeal to elements of the lunatic fringe. You know what I'm saying? There are many things about Islam. I mean, one of my more, and I guess we only have 6 people here today, but one of my more unpopular, well, I won't say it's unpopular, I never really talk about it publicly, but part of me feels like everybody who converts to Islam is a little crazy. Even me. I mean, we all look crazy. Not crazy in the sense that, not in touch with our faculties, but there's clearly some kind of dissatisfaction with myself, with the status quo, with life, with what's on offer by the marketing barons on Fifth Avenue, the creature comforts and amenities that one can access through the market, and the careerist kind of work, rat race. Clearly, I'm not satisfied with that. That's why I accepted Islam. So in a sense, not crazy, but everyone who embraces Islam is somewhat nonconformist in their thinking. Otherwise, why would you accept Islam? Why would you, and I think people who accept Islam have to be a little rebellious. Because, I mean, this is a religion post 9/11 that has been maligned.
You know what I said? Our Sheikh said we can't do that.
Not rebellious to Allah.
That's the point.
Yeah, we're not rebellious to Allah.
Yeah,
I'm talking about, I'm talking about,
You know, that's my thing, I'm from rebel.
not rebellious to Allah. Yeah, not rebellious to Allah.
I think say you know,
Yeah, you gotta be somewhat militant, right? You gotta be somewhat, you have to be some, it takes a lot for, and you have to be a person of some insight, because if I take something, I throw it all over the ground, I step on it, I say, man, this is trash, this is the worst thing that you could ever have. You have to be a person of character to pick that thing up and say, no, actually, this is very beautiful. I see beauty in this. This thing that you're telling me is the most out of step with the modern world, the most out of step with secular democracy, the most out of step with, the culture of me and I and acquisition and validation. And for one of us to say, no, actually, I see some value in this, man. I think you gotta be not crazy, but you gotta be a little, you gotta be a little bit marching to the tune of your own drummer. So yes, I guess I'm saying that to say, converts to Islam, in contradistinction to people born into Muslim communities, you're gonna be dealing with folks that's a little wacky. I mean, that's what we convert to Islam. you gotta be prepared for that. That's what we convert to Islam. And we're a little bit off. We're a little bit crazy. And that's why, for us, people that belong to convert communities, there's nothing. I mean, we know people now. I'm talking about somebody we both know. Don't mention the name. If they were to walk through this door, you would see the effect of years of devotion to Allah and calling to Allah. Like just their presence would make you repent. Like that's how I regard this person. And before he accepted Islam, he was a pimp, a real pimp, soliciting women to clients. So people, it's all kinds of people embracing Islam. There's all kinds of people, I mean, there's a brother and a sister. Well, every time I see them, it's like a moving thing. She's Muslim, he's Muslim. They used to be in the streets together, shooting heroin into their veins together. And now they make salat together. It's people that come from, people that come from backgrounds like that it's kind of like, yeah, we accepted Islam. We're coming from some, crazy backgrounds. We accepted Islam. I think the key now with, Brother Andrew Tate, funniest thing I ever heard there was, there was a rap group in the 90s, very popular, called Ghetto Boys. Scarface, Willie D, Bushwick Bill. And Scarface actually accepted Islam. And his real name is Brad, but Brad, right? Scarface Brad. Scarface actually accepted Islam. And a friend of mine bumped into him at the masjid, and he said he was like, "Assalamu alaikum, brother Scarface." And he said, "Nah, man, just call me Brad." He said, "Assalamu alaikum, brother Scarface." He always tickled me. But Brother Andrew Tate, that's what I'm calling him, right? But I hope that somebody will be able to challenge, if he continues spewing the same rhetoric, a wise, intelligent person will be able to challenge him in a way that shepherds him, that guides him, man. you know,
So I have a question about that. I always heard it said that it's bad enough to criticize another Muslim in public or in front of non-Muslims. Is that actually the case? And how would that apply to this type of situation?
yeah, I mean, it's bad enough to take anybody to task in front of other people. Only because we're not even talking about a media personality that has 300 million followers or something like that. We're just talking about like in this room, if I want to tell Zeki, when someone is correcting us or challenging us, it is very easy to misinterpret that challenge as a complete invalidation. And to defend our worthiness, we end up defending whatever incorrect position that we've adopted. And when you admonish someone publicly, there's a good chance that they'll probably do that. Very few people are self-realized and spiritually evolved to the point of being able to accept correction, even privately. You know what I'm saying? So publicly, forget it. Publicly, just forget it. But even privately, it still takes a couple days. I mean, even privately, a very sincere person may call you 3 days later and say, I thought about what you said. Some of it kind of made sense. That's like the best of us today. Man, that's the best. If somebody does that, you're like, a saint. I thought about what you said. And I don't know, maybe. I mean, a little bit of it resonated with me, maybe. You don't have anybody that in front of other people will actually say, oh my God, you're right. I'm wrong. In front of 300 million people. I don't, I don't know, right? I don't know. However, I think somehow letting the person know that what they're saying is unacceptable without, trying to humiliate them or put them on blast or like, I would seek the counsel of someone more knowledgeable before saying something like that. See, I would say something like that. Like I would, I would seek a second opinion. You want to be careful, putting that kind of stuff out there because you don't want to be responsible for misleading or misguiding anyone. Or, you want to say something, but you don't want to. And then this is the thing too. We have to remember, Islam is a marathon and not a sprint, right? Islam is a marathon. So just because he's Andrew Tate and he has millions of followers, doesn't mean that he automatically knows about Islam. Much of what exists in a convert's mind is a mixture, and this is always the case, is a mixture of what they think they know, their previous beliefs, right? Because there's a lot I can say about this actually. Very few people actually believe that everything that they used to know about God is incorrect. That's not how you embrace Islam. Even the Sahaba, they didn't embrace Islam. It's like, tabula rasa. Like I don't know anything. So it was many things that I just assumed this is a part of worshiping God. Why wouldn't it be a part of worshiping God in Islam? Real easy, simple example. I was Muslim, converted to Islam. Somebody sneezed, I said, bless you. Why would I think that you wouldn't do that? I would just think, and somebody said, no, actually, you wait for him to say, alhamdulillah. Then you say, yarhamakallah. Then he say, yahdikum Allah, yuslihu balakum. I said, oh, that for a sneeze? Man, that's heavy, bro. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? All that bullshit. But just like, why would I think that as a Muslim you shouldn't say bless you? Like, why would I think that? Like, why would I think that? You know, I still remember converting to Islam and it was the strangest thing. So I'm hanging out with a older, more experienced Muslim. And I said, hold on, man, we playing basketball at UIC. And at some point during the game, I stopped and said, man, let me use the bathroom. I went to the bathroom, I came back. And he said, you went to the bathroom? I said, yeah. Did you stand or did you sit? I said, what are you asking me, man? Are you really asking me about how I go to the bathroom, man? Like, are you really asking me this? Did you use water when you fed it? Hey man, I'm out of here, man. No, man, I walk by the gym. You asking me about how I, hey, man, this foolishness, man. I don't know. You know, I didn't know what he was getting at. I'm looking like, it was the strangest thing to me, because why would I assume that there was something wrong, something incomplete or inadequate with the way that I relieved myself? Why would I assume something like that, right? I'm mentioning these examples to say that when a person converts to Islam, everything they thought they knew before that doesn't just like vanish. A lot of the things they say are, things that they're bringing with them from their previous, whether it's religious observance or non-religious observance, that they think is going to carry over into Islam.
That's also true of people who are raised Muslims because they conflate their cultural practices
With Islam, that you think, why wouldn't it be? So I guess what I'm saying is that you have to prepare yourself to be patient. And some of it, believe it or not, I think some of that is good in that, like, this is the way that Islam makes its route into a given people or a given culture. Some of those things are like, that's a good thing. So for instance, like I even observe it like with like phrases. Like this is something like I pay attention. I'm really fascinated by this. So in the Christian tradition, at least the Baptist tradition, there's a lot of this notion of God walking with a person. I want Jesus to walk with me. So a person will embrace Islam and just say, I want Allah to walk with me. Even that's not a part of our, that's not a part of like our devotional vocabulary. But if I say to them, Inna Allah ma'as sabirin, Allah is with those who are patient. Inna Allah ma'al muhsinin, Allah is with those that are spiritually excellent. You see, I guess what I'm saying is like, I see the concept you're trying to bring, like this is a part of this is the way you understand God. You're trying to bring that with you into Islam. One of my jobs as a teacher of Islam is to show you how to bring the best of what you have and retain it. So that you don't lose everything, but just those things that you need to lose. So just because Andrew Tate says something, don't assume that this is some Islamic view, or this is something that, clearly, just by virtue of becoming Muslim, all the knowledge of Islam has just entered his, and every time he speaks, it's somehow references Islam. He doesn't know anything about Islam, right? And sometimes, subhanAllah, white American convert told me something, blew my mind. He said, and I knew this was true, but it was just hearing somebody say it that was like really remarkable. He said, a lot of Black people don't understand what it means to be white. I said, you're right. I don't. He said, I've been raised, just kind of my ambient surrounding, everything around me has made my people, our culture, our civilizational achievements the center of the world, meaning like the way that I understand world history, there's a European narrative at the middle of it. Everything else is peripheral. Everything else is just, right? And coming into Islam, I entered a different world. I entered a world in which my history is kind of marginal. You know, he said, like, do you realize that I can go sit in a dars, a Muslim class, for an hour and 30 minutes, and not one single European or American will be cited. He said, man, that never happened to me through 16 years of formal education and all of my other classes. Now I'm sitting there and it's just like, it's this amazing like paradigm shift for me where I'm accustomed to being the center of everything. I embrace Islam, I'm not the center, right? And then he said the other thing was that being in a space, I think this will impact somebody like Andrew Tate, where I was not assumed to have authority. Like where I was assumed to actually know very little. Whereas usually, he's from a very wealthy family. In fact, he's a descendant of a US president. So I don't know, right? You know what I mean? You know, being in a space where usually my thoughts, my opinions, my sensibilities reign supreme. Now I'm in a space where people are telling me, no, wait, hold on. There's a tradition, there's a silsila, there's a chain, there's ijazat, you just can't just say, yeah, I was reading this ayah and what God is saying here. Hold on, who are you? You have to sit, you have to learn. And he said that it was just like an awakening, like, I've never been made to feel this marginal or provincial in my whole life. So one thing that I do find is that for some people, like take a person like Andrew Tate, for instance, I wonder if that paradigm shift will ever occur for him.
But it's not just the knowledge, right? To have authority to speak or teach on something, you have to have the knowledge, you also have to have the evidence.
Exactly.
If you're judging the actions of a person by the outward manifestation of their character, really the only gauge that you have is this person's like the prophets of the.
So I tell them, yeah, no. And I think, you wonder, where does that shift occur? Like, at what point, and I think this will be very hard for somebody like this, I don't know him, to accept like, wait, I'm really not qualified to voice an opinion. I have 300 million followers, people regard me as an authority. I built my wealth, I built my reputation on offering my opinion. And there are, again, and this is, I put on my critical theorist hat, you know what I'm saying? But you have to, with things like that, I'm always curious. I mean, even for me, I recognize the privileges I enjoy. So just the fact that I speak English gives my work a certain multiplier effect. That if I had the same ideas, but I spoke, I don't know, Hindi, it wouldn't reach nearly as many people, right? So just the fact that, he is British, he is white, and he is English, is probably, I imagine it's contributed to his meteoric rise. So to now be in a community where those things don't confer any authority onto you, being British, being white, and being English, even if we as a community are really where we're supposed to be, even being rich, You know, that for me was, that was a deep thing for me, bro. That was a deep thing. If I'm being honest, when you know, I think I grew up in a context where nothing mattered as much as money. That's just how we, forget who's the baddest, a man's status depends on salary. You know, that's, AZ or not, but, nothing was more important than money. It's just like, like I remember listening to people argue about whatever, and those arguments could be shut down by referencing who has the most money. Who has you don't have more money than me. No, seriously, like you're just like, I'm not making this up. He don't have, can you buy that? This car cost me this, can you buy that? Okay, well, shut up.
I heard some people arguing in one of them said, show me 5,000.
So when I embraced Islam, he did not know that he was doing this. I embraced Islam. I went, kind of studied Islam, learned Islam, and I was having this really, vigorous, strenuous debate with this very wealthy Muslim, very wealthy business guy, hedge fund guy, and he was ceding to me because of my authority in the tradition. I was like, damn, he really listening to me. This man is worth $25, $30 million. I'm worth maybe $25 or $30. No. And he was saying, if that's the position of the Azhar, I guess I'm wrong about this. I guess Obey, I guess I'm wrong about this, And I was like, subhanAllah. In my mind, I was thinking, you listening to somebody that's worth $25? Because in his mind, the sharaf of knowledge is above the dignity conferred by knowledge on this matter is above the dignity conferred by money, right? So even the fact that Andrew Tate is rich, what does it mean to be a part of a community that, hey man, we don't listen to people just because they're rich? No, she studied, he studied. This person, you didn't study. Okay, you got $300 million, so? What does that mean? You don't know anything because you're rich? Because you're famous? You think that we're going to tell you, we're going to allow you to give us some incorrect opinion about Islam, our religion that's been preserved for us over generations because you have money? We don't care anything about your money. And I think for people like that, that's sobering. Like, well, we don't care that you have money. What you said was wrong. Now, if you want to make yourself feel better about being wrong, go to the mall and buy some watches. I don't know whatever you do, but you're wrong. You're wrong. I don't care how rich you are. I think those are the kinds of like awakenings that people need to have. But if our community is like every other community, worshiping whiteness, worshiping celebrity, and worshiping wealth, Andrew Tate can become Sheikh al-Islam. Sheikh al-Islam. This is that. Call that Andrew Tate, you know what I mean? He don't have no answer. He don't know about Islam. I don't care how much money he has. Does he know? Who did he learn from? Come on, man. This is Islam. And I think that in that kind of culture, that kind of context, I think a person like Andrew Tate can really, really flourish. He can really blossom as a Muslim. Will we provide that? I don't know. I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't know. Other questions? This is all from your question. Other questions I did.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. How are you?
Doing well, alhamdulillah. How about yourself?
Alhamdulillah, all three of you. How are you?
Inshallah, inshallah. Unrelated to Andrew Tate, but Eric and I were reflecting on the Shama'id, and we were discussing how from our knowledge, there's not really an equivalent in Christianity about the life of Jesus, nor do we have like an example of the Shema'id from any other, well, not in this level of detail, from other
Yeah.
prophets.
No.
And subhanAllah, like how from the outside, if you didn't really know Islam, it could look like this degree of detail about the prophet is like a form of deification of the
Yes.
prophet rather than just a show of love and respect. So it's more just like general reflections than anything else, but I'm wondering if you have thoughts about
No,
that.
that's a great point. I think that this is a great parallel because you're absolutely right. I don't think there is any historical figure who is studied more closely than Muhammad ibn Abdullah. I'm certain about that actually. This is, I've had non-Muslim historians tell me as much, that I don't think there's any person who studied more closely. I don't think there's any person who's emulated more closely than they would just say Muhammad of Arabia. There's no person. I think all of this is not an indication of deification, but it's an indication of God's protecting this religion. Because when the person of the founder of the faith, or the person who established that expression of the faith, because of course we believe Islam is the old primordial religion from Sayyidina Adam. But when that person becomes historically obscured from view, who were they? What did they do? What did they say? What did they look like? I think this is the opening to great tribulation in that religious community. I think the fact that there is so much mystery around the person of Jesus Christ, alayhi salam, I think is why there's so much variance among Christians in terms of how they believe in Jesus Christ. For all of the sectarian differences of Muslims, I don't know of a single sect of Islam that worships the Prophet Muhammad or says that he's a godlike figure or something like that. I've never heard of that. I've actually heard of some of the ghulat of the Shi'is that worship Sayyidina Ali. That say Sayyidina Ali is a godlike figure. That Sayyidina Ali is, but I've never heard about anybody worshiping the Prophet Muhammad. I think it's because God blessed him, to do such a good job of making who he was in relation to the divine clear. I am the servant of God. I do not worship. Do not say that I am the son of God. Even saying, don't say I'm better than you. Don't say, don't like. And so I think that we have a great knowledge of the Prophet ﷺ and a lot of details concerning his life. But I think that knowledge of those details actually lead to the opposite. I think they lead to us not worshiping him. For if we didn't have that knowledge and his person were more shrouded in kind of historical mystery, it would be easier to end up in misguidance. You see, when one of the great tafasir or explanations of Surah An-Nuh, the chapter of Noah in the Quran, is the chapter of Noah actually mentions the beginning of idolatry. So when he mentions Wad, Suwad, and all of the different idols, and Noah asked God to curse these idols, Ibn Kathir says that these were righteous people who lived among the people of Noah for a time. And when the person would die, one of these righteous people died, they would memorialize the person with a statue, right? And over time, people started bringing tributes to the statue. They started making sacrifices at the altar of the statue. If a woman couldn't get pregnant, she would ask the statue like to intervene. And over generations, that descended into full-blown worship of the statues. I think because we have the Prophet and one of the things, I don't know how my YouTube algorithm, YouTube Shorts, some video came up where a black preacher was saying, I ain't talking about no cracker Jesus. I'm talking about that Jesus with hair like lamb wool, feet the color of brass. Direct quotation from the Bible, right? And I said, SubhanAllah. It's amazing how in the Quran, you have no physical descriptions of any of the prophets. As if God was saying, this is a fitna. This will only lead to problems. This will only lead to problems. And for the universality of this scripture, right? There's no physical descriptions. Now in the Sunnah of the Prophet, you get some of those physical descriptions. The Prophet seeing people in, like visions or, the Isra and the Mi'raj and describing them, but it's not in the Quran. I think similarly, the Prophet ﷺ has been described in great detail in words because Muslims have really stayed away from capturing him in images. That's not a part of our, sometimes it shocks me. Like it's a really interesting paradox that many of us, like we name our children after the Sahaba and we wouldn't know one of them if they walk right in the room. We've never even read, there's a good book called Al-Isaba fi Tamyiz al-Sahaba that gives you physical descriptions of the companions of the Prophet ﷺ. And before reading a book like that, I never thought even how these people looked. Like Sayyidina Abu Bakr walked right in here, none we wouldn't even raise. Who's this old hunchback man? Sayyidina Abu Bakr was Ahdam, he was hunchback, right? Or Sayyidina Ibn Mas'ud walked in, he was very short, maybe 4'8", 4'9", he was under 5 feet tall. Ibn Mas'ud, very, very, very small man. Or Sayyidina Umar walked in, I think we would all know him. 6'8", 6'9", very muscular, strong, thick beard, long mustache, bald, imposing presence, you know what I'm saying? So my point is, I think because we don't use images, I think the Prophet ﷺ has been captured in great detail so we can still hold him close. We can still hold him close because we don't use iconography or pictures to kind of connect devotionally, which is something that, subhanAllah, man, pictures, when they say pictures worth, pictures worth 1,000 words, I will say a picture does do things that words cannot do, but it does create problems that words don't create. So when you think about, a person goes to like a Catholic church and you see, the stained glass depicting scenes from the Bible, I can imagine that leaving a deep impression on somebody. Like there it is. It's right there in front of them, But I can also imagine that limiting the glory of God in a way that would just, it's like part of, now I'm getting deep into my late night around the table drinking tea bag, but part of I think part of a Muslim's worship of God is imagination. Is like realizing that God is beyond anything you could ever comprehend. Right? A God of what they call alterity. He's more. Anything you can think about, anything you can conceive of, Allah is more than that. He's more than that. That feeling is supposed to make you say, Subhanallah, glory to God. Now, if you could sum it up in just a picture, and there's right there, it's over. There's no imagination, that's right. Where's your God? Right there. That's my God right there, carrying the cross. Up to Golgotha. There you go, right there. My God right there, on that picture. Whether he black, white, Asian, but that's my God right there. I mean, you know, that I imagine that at that there is no more imagination. It's there. So I think in the case of the Prophet ﷺ, because he's not divine, this is my point on that. Much ink has been spilled about his physical description, about what he looked like, about what he wore, about how he ate, because he's not God. You see, and that we can't have, you know, he can be limited in that way because he's not God. If that makes any sense.
Definitely. Jazakallah khair.
Alhamdulillah. Maybe have time for a couple more. Anybody has one concluding question?
What is it that interests you in teaching Islam?
I'm interested in love. You see my wife tell I said, I'm interested in love. Love her, man. Like, interested in love, man. Yeah, I think that this is we gotta get some love back into our community, man. You know, I once gave a khutbah. I was talking about loving God, loving the messenger of God. The khutbah said, hey man, you talking about loving God, man? We had the messenger, we had church. I said, so Muslims say, no, you don't love Allah. I was saying, you can't talk about loving Allah. And Allah said, قُلْ إِن كُنْتُمْ تُحِبُّونَ اللَّهَ فَاتَّبِعُونِي يُحْبِبُكُمُ اللَّهُ. Say if you love Allah, then follow me, Allah will love you. Say if you love Allah. You know, or يُحِبُّونَهُمْ كَحُبِّ اللَّهِ وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا أَشَدُّ حُبًّا لِلَّهِ. See, these are the verses of the Quran that give me sweats. You know, Allah was talking about how they're devoted to these idols. Allah says, يُحِبُّهُمْ كَحُبِّ اللَّهِ. They love these idols as if these idols were really God. وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا أَشَدُّ حُبًّا لِلَّهِ. But the believers, they love Allah more than they love their idols. You know what I mean? Like, we're supposed to love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You know, and it's almost like love is such a powerful emotion. I mean, it is the pursuit of every filmmaker, the pursuit of every poet, the pursuit of every artist, the pursuit of every person in a romantic relationship. It should be the pursuit of every worshiper. Love. This is what we're all attempting to describe. This is what we're all trying to describe. And it's interesting thinking where we place it. Some place it here, do you place it there? I don't know, might be it seems like it could be interesting. Seems like it could be interesting. Of course, it's not what everybody suggested, but it seems like it could be interesting, inshallah. And it's not, it's not like a traditional book, so, no teaching certificates, anything like that will come out of it. It's just a modern book. And I think maybe I'll Xerox copies of the chapter, give the chapter, we all can read it together and just come in and discuss it. Kind of like a reading group, you know what I mean? It might be good in that way, inshallah. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر آمين يا رب العالمين. If I gotta make sure the doors closed. Jazakallah.